Alright, let's get right into it. The lore of the whole series is busted, and because the new era of games is more centered around the lore than previous eras, this is a big old problem, because it leads to the games feeling very pointless for anybody who's really been paying attention. Now if you're wondering what I meant by new era, I'm talking about everything Help Wanted and after, because that's when the game developers posed the question of, was any of that previous stuff real? And I don't know about you, but I've been confused ever since. Let me tell you why. Nothing ever gets answered. Listen, this whole video was just gonna be a tell of how questions get asked, and though we have 4 games and a DLC to get the answers, we still don't know what the hell going on. Now you might say, that's just how FNAF is, bro. But it's actually not. The reason being that in the old games, you just sat in the room trying to protect yourself. Any questions that arose in those first games came from you looking at something other than what the main function of the game is. But these current games have actual storylines very present within the gameplay. So instead of people asking questions because they looked hard at the background of the game and pieced together details to understand the background plot, we have the game itself posing questions that never get answered no matter how hard you look. This the Help Wanted portion of the damn video. In Help Wanted, you play as somebody who is working at Freddy's and you're trying to uncover what the glitch in the system is. In trying to do so, you find out about Vanessa and Patient 46. At the end of the game though, you clearly get your mind hacked or whatever by Glitch Trap. The questions that arise in this game are as follows. Where's this location? The last physical real pizzeria we visited was in Pizzeria Simulator. At the end of that game, the pizzeria is burned down for the purposes of destroying all the animatronics and the entire history of Freddy Fazbear's. That was supposed to be the last pizzeria. And Help Wanted's location doesn't seem to be a part of the Pizzaplex either. So where are we? Where's Vanessa? We realized by the end of the game that Vanessa has been taken over by Glitch Trap, but she clearly isn't working at our job anymore. So where did she go? Who is Patient 46? We actually find this out at some point that it is Gregory, but we found that out in a Fazbear story, not in any of the following games. So to me, that doesn't count, and also might be entirely wrong because I'm still finding multiple answers on who Patient 46 is. I'm not reading them books. Was you crazy? How did Afton get into digital form? I believe this one was given to us in-game as something that had to be figured out. Somewhere along the timeline, corrupted chips were spoken about that were scanned from the old animatronics, and the idea is that the spirit of Afton's actions were carried over from the data gathered from those old animatronics, and it ended up making a copy of Afton in the VR game. Sounds complicated, but it's actually kind of simple. Who rebooted the Freddys? Afton is dead, Henry is dead, Mike is dead, all of Freddy's locations are gone, and the history of Freddy's makes this a business no true businessman would want to touch. So who even restarted this? Who are you playing with? We find out about Vanessa, but we don't ever find out who we are. The person is glitched at the end of the game, so you would think we would see him somewhere in Security Breach being another antagonist, just like Vanessa. But we have no idea what happened to them after. And did anything we thought we knew prior to the release of this game really happen? The start of the game says that everything that happened before was the work of an overzealous game developer who lied about a lot of the events. We could take that at face value, but everything that came after Help Wanted tells us that most of the events actually did happen. Maybe we got some details wrong, but the extent of how wrong any idea is was never revealed. So at this point, we don't know what is real and what isn't, which is a great way to make a horror game like the PT, whatever the hell that was, but a terrible way to start a series of games focused on gathering information. Now let's talk about Security Breach. With this being a follow-up to Help Wanted, we would expect all those questions I just asked to be answered. But the only thing that really got cleared up from this specific game was, where's Vanessa? We know where she at now. She had the Pizzaplex. But while still will fail to answer anything in this game, they also gave us a bunch of other questions. Questions like, who is Gregory and where are his parents? Gregory is a small child. He shouldn't be at the Pizzaplex alone, by himself. I know that's the same thing, but even worse than that, we have Vanessa and Roxy bringing up his parents for the entirety of the game. An ending that specifically shows Gregory sleeping on the street, and no ending ends with Gregory returning to a loving home or any home for that matter. If Gregory is Patient 46 though, then we would at least have the fact that his parents were supposed to be well off in some way. But again, I have no knowledge of who that person is, so that's for you to figure out. Why is Vanessa trying to catch him? Being that I personally do not know if Gregory was Patient 46, due to nothing ever being answered definitively in this series, I can't really justify a reason for Vanessa trying to catch him. If Gregory is Patient 46, then it means that him and Vanny would have, at one point, been on the same side. So they would have had to both be hacked by Glitch Trap in some way, but never know about each other for security breach to proceed as it did in relation to their relationship. Unless they were fucking with us the whole time. I don't know. On the other token, if Vanessa wanted to kill Gregory, why would she capture him getting in the elevator and put him in a security room just to leave him again to contact him on the security monitor, put on her Vanny suit, and run back down to catch a person who was already in her custody? Something ain't right here, man. Are Vanessa and Vanny the same person? Vanessa and Vanny was shown to be two different people in one of the endings of Security Breach. After Ruin, it was theorized by somebody important that no ending was completely false in that game, but what really happened was a mixture of all the endings. The proof of that being that Burn Trap is gone, the Pizzaplex seemed to really have a cave-in, and Freddy has no head in Ruin. So if many endings are true and we have the fact that Vanessa shouldn't have left Greg in a room just to suit up and recapture him, I'm not sure if Vanny is actually Vanessa. Who created the Pizzaplex, dog? Again, everybody dead. And if pizza and arcades is still this hot, why not make an entirely new business? How about that? It makes no sense that somebody would reboot this. Matt Pat said it's the wife of Afton, but I refuse to attribute any parts of the lore to any unknown characters because after all, they are unknown. I might as well say Santa Claus rebooted the pizzerias because he exists just as much as Mrs. Afton in this actual series. Why was the Pizzaplex built on top of the old pizzeria? That's a good question, man. If a person had normal motives for rebuilding the Freddy brand, why rebuild it on a burnt down pizzeria? Even without the blob thing, this place was doomed to fall because it used the dilapidated pizzeria as its foundation. A metaphor? I think so, son. For real, I think that's a metaphor. What is Burn Trap and why is he there? What is Burn Trap and why is he there? What is the blob and why did it take Burn Trap? What is the blob and why did it take Burn Trap? And finally, what the hell is going on here? Just what the hell is going on here? How Eddie Murphy sound? I'm supposed to do Eddie Murphy voice. Now that game is recent enough for me to not have to explain why those questions are necessary. Just like with the last game, any question asked is not answered by the end. So let's see if anything is answered in the next game. And that game is called Ruin. I just checked and of course not, man. Of course not. We already knew that. I played myself with that one. They dropped Ruin and both Gregory and Vanessa are nowhere to be found. We think we talking to Gregory, but it turns out to be the Mimic, which is an entirely new villain. Burn Trap is nowhere to be found, nor the Blob. And to top it all off, again, we get another large host of crazy ass questions like, who is Cassie? We know that Cassie is a friend to both Gregory and Roxy, and the fact that she indeed has a father who probably used to work for the Pizzaplex. But aside from that, we don't know who she is. How long has the Pizzaplex been closed, man? We know that there was a cave-in when Gregory and Freddy left the Pizzaplex, so the damage can be attributed to that. But the presence of the Mexis machines and the Vanny Bot and Vanny Mask makes me think some significant time has passed. What is the Mimic? Who made it? How long has it existed? Who locked it up? Do I really need to explain that? How are these animatronics charging up in this place? Ain't no electricity, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but my screen was too dark. You know what I'm saying? This the game that taught me I gotta adjust my brightness and my blackness level. And I usually never adjust my blackness levels, nigga. Who is Cassie's father and is he relevant to the story? Turns out he is relevant to the story and we do learn about him, but this knowledge clears absolutely nothing up. Did Cassie survive at the end? She dropped into an elevator shaft that the Mimic could easily drop down into due to having, you know, no bones. And to top that off, she already had a physical brain implant from the Vanny Mask. And if the Vanny Mask is just an upgraded way to do whatever the Glitch Trap dude did to Vanessa and Jeremy, then maybe Cassie is already compromised. And finally, what is the game plan here? If you factor in Help Wanted and FNAF AR, the Fazbear Company has been working towards something. They created a game in augmented reality that lets you see animatronics around you that might not be real, but they can affect you. And they created a VR game where the people can play through the history of FNAF in first person. Now they have the Vanny Mask, which doesn't take over your mind seemingly if Cassie isn't glitched out by the start of the next game. But it does have AR and it does come with a little helpy that tries to convince you to do things you probably shouldn't do. Now I can state those facts, but I can't say for sure the purpose. Do they want to take over the world? Do they want $1 billion? Or has the mimic or some unknown force set a plan in motion to harvest remnant, seemingly just for the sake of it? Help Wanted 2. Help Wanted 2 is said to be a game that is used to clear up the story within the new timeline, and to basically fix all the problems the community had with the gameplay of Security Breach. But of course, Mav got some questions. How long has it been since Security Breach? If we had the answer to this, we could work on a timeline of events of what was happening after Gregory made it out. But they didn't supply us with this info, which, going off the top here, is a big reason why people have straight up reverted back to trying to solve Midnight Motorists. There's absolutely nothing in this part of the series that causes any reason to attempt to create a timeline. Everybody just went back to trying to make the old timeline again. That's crazy. How long before Ruin does this happen? We know that Help Wanted's events happen before the events of Ruin because they depict who we assume is Cassie's father doing a full week's worth of work before being turned into a staff bot and handing Cassie the Vanny mask once she makes it into the Pizzaplex. Again, we don't know when all this stuff happens, so we can't begin to work on a timeline. The old games never really stated the current date, but at least they stated dates of key events surrounding the games, or at the very least hit you with a proper minimum wage so you could try to figure things out. You feel me? Why is Cassie's father working at a basically destroyed Pizzaplex? Based off the movies and books, FNAF seems to be centered in a small town of some sorts. Being in a small town, I'm sure a form of entertainment like this would be popular. I don't believe it would be popular enough to survive its dark history in the real world though. And if you factor in the next game and the book it's based off of, jobs in that town and towns like it depend heavily upon one source of employment. The minute that source of employment is gone, people have to take what they can or relocate. So maybe a person would take this sort of job. But the facts are, a person from this area would have known about the cave-in at the very least. We start the game with the headset on, but before the game started, the character walked into this dilapidated ass building, put the Vanny mask on, and straight up ignored all the tetanus he was about to sit in. All to do a job where he's taking care of animatronics that have no function in an environment that they would not be in if the people in charge actually had a plan for them. Aside from that, we still don't know who made the Vanny mask, or if any of what we see happening is in real time or just a memory like the first Help Wanted gameplay was supposed to be. And finally comes Into the Pit. We sat for years asking the question of, does the books have anything to do with the games? And still Will, or whoever the fuck, decides to drop a game fully based off of a book title, and I'm stuck saying, is this lore relevant because it was made into a game, or was this just an easy way to get game content out without having to rack your brain about where the main story is gonna go? Of the new anomalies, we get a pizzeria set in one of the original Freddy's. Now I don't know which one because the timeline is too confusing. I'm gonna be honest with you, my IQ ain't up there like that. Maybe Joe's is the real original Freddy's, but I could have sworn Pizzeria Simulator was built on that ground, which would make that the underground of the Pizzaplex. So when does this take place? Now take all that with a pound of salt though, since I don't even know the difference in pizzerias. And I don't even know if the other one called Joe's. I'll be real with you. Somebody gonna correct me though, so it's cool. And we also get a blatant contradiction of the story's events. Now we can take this story as the kid fell into a pit and saw what Afton did in a more consolidated way, or the kid fell into a pit and saw what Afton did exactly as it happened. Now the problem I keep labeling here in these videos is that Help Wanted made the statement that the previous games were fake. I don't trust that statement, but this is just another moment where it's bringing into question if what we know is really what truly happened. Hey man, I'm getting into this shit, so honestly, I'm gonna let you know, I decided that much like FNAF, I want to ask a bunch of questions and then cut to a conclusion that is totally unsatisfying for what the rest of the project was. You feel me? I still think this was a great series. I will never forget the days watching my back while learning the lore and really feeling creeped out about what might have happened. But the truth is, you can only keep a mystery going for so long before quitting or switching things up. A show like Scooby-Doo or Doctor Who can exist in multiple times because the shows are centered around mysteries. In the case of Doctor Who, all you have to do is update the surroundings, the dialogue, and who portrays Doctor Who, and it can feel like a different product while staying true to the source. Now Scooby-Doo, you know what I'm saying? I can't say that shit regular by itself, so I'm from Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Scooby-Doo also centers around mystery, but even though the characters stay the same, the writing and dynamic alone keep them going. And at the same same time, they push other products that take the dynamic and try to adapt it in different ways. But no matter what you do, besides this bullshit, Velma, and partially this semi-bullshit, Velma and Daphne, it will always be Scooby-Doo, nigga. But while writing this specifically, I realized that I don't personally know of a game that was able to change with the times and remain relevant as a film or TV product does. Everything was going good for Halo until they tried to copy Call of Duty style, showing that Call of Duty is the superior product in the modern day. And then they tried to return to their old glory, but when they did that, they had a drastically smaller player base due to trying to replicate what was most popular at the time. Everything is going good for Call of Duty right now, but that's really only a monetary metric, as they have abandoned the good storytelling aspect of making a game, and now they fully embrace the Fortnite, the Battle Royale. So even though they seem to be doing well, when we look at their origins, it's really not the same anymore. Now, I can give more examples, but I don't feel like it. The point is, game franchises don't have much room to adapt to the times. And with games something near 50 years behind the production of film, and true storytelling in gaming happening another 20 years after that, we have yet to see a product that can make it through the generational hump without quitting, losing themselves, or exploiting the aspect of humanity that makes exclusivity and nostalgia desirable. Even if you are still just jumping on blocks for 70 a pop for the rest of eternity. No discounts. Sorry about that. That's a touchy subject, because my Mario Kart and Mario Brothers games both broke while sitting in the same carrying case as all the other games we own. How come the only games that never go on sale was the only ones to break? Why I got 4 Joy-Cons and they all drifting? Why y'all ain't make the damn Joy-Con dock bigger so my hand don't cramp up trying to play Super Smash Brothers? You know what I'm saying? Why the hell I dropped near $1,000 on the system that produced games I ain't liked since 2006? Shit, I think I got the glitch trap virus too. Shit making me do all kinds of uncharacteristic shit. But instead of me kidnapping kids for no damn reason, it got me making nonsensical financial decisions, nigga. Damn, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop myself. I got Rant coming soon though, so you know what I'm saying? Just look forward to that aggravation. The point is, FNAF is a game series primarily. So just like other games, it doesn't have much wiggle room to stray too far away from the original concept of the series. And within that, it has a decision that has to be made. Do we change the series up and face backlash? Or do we try to keep things the same even though the mystery that has been the true backbone of the series is essentially done? Scooby-Doo has villains, but there was no overarching villain besides that Jenkins man. His name came up a lot. That nigga might be causing this nigga the leader. You know, think about it. Jenkins is the leader. But the capture of any one person would never feel like the logical end to some grand story. Afton was the villain, one the community had to work to even find out the identity of, and he met his true end 9 games ago. Maybe that's why these new games aren't as compelling as the old ones, because the questions aren't as compelling as the old ones. But even with all that said, I'm still grateful for new creative mysteries in the world. And as always, I think it's up to the people to decide what's real and what isn't. Not me. This ain't no shameless promotion, no. I gotta say this. I was gonna end it. I gotta say this. You know what I'm saying? Listen. I'm going to do that Vanessa and Greg might be evil video, but that Nintendo rant might come first. You know what I'm saying? YouTube niggas be too easy on Nintendo, and I don't care about monetization like that, so I'm finna go ahead and take the plunge. Check that out when it drop. I'm out. Peace.